Hi guys, I'm Paul from Urban Constrictors. So after my 1000 subscriber video, I asked the question what you guys would like me to cover, what subjects you'd like me to cover. The response was overwhelming, so thank you all so much that got in contact and give me your ideas. I genuinely don't think there was a single bad idea, so I'm going to work through them all. Now, stupidly, I should have checked who gave me this idea, but I'll put a quick picture of your comment below, so to give you some sort of recognition for the great idea. So this particular person says, why don't you cover a video on how you make your future plans? Now, the reason I liked this idea and the reason I've kind of chosen this one to do first is because maybe I do my planning a little bit different. So when I got into a ball python game in 2010, I used to look at snakes online, and for instance, I wanted to make a bumblebee. So two of the first snakes, not my very first, but amongst my first snakes, was a pastel and a spider. But then I got itchy feet and I actually just went out and bought a bumblebee. I remember paying £750 for the bumblebee, which at the time I thought was a hell of a lot of money to spend on the snake. I was actually really worried that I might do something wrong and lose it. Now, I still own that bumblebee and I still own the spider. So how I used to do my plans is I used to think, right, what do I want to make? And I'd buy the genes and mix them. But then I realised that's not necessarily the best route and way to do it. Now the reason being is because some snakes, and it was actually Jamie Swords who said this to me some years ago. I asked him, how do you plan on which snake goes which? And I remember him saying something to the lines of, if I have say 5 pastels and a GHI, and I want to make a pastel GHI, I'll pick the darkest pastel to go with that GHI. And say I want to make a light snake, let's say a bumblebee, I'll pick the lightest the lightest pastel to go with the lightest spider to make a very light bumblebee. And I thought, what a great idea. Now, this applies for when you have multiple snakes, but also it applies when you're hatching snakes like this one. Now, this is a banana cinnamon clown. So instantly when I hatch this, I thought I'm going to put it into leopard because I want to tighten this pan and I want to highlight these spots, and that's a good idea, and I probably will go down that route. But now I also look at the snake and I kind of analyse its pros and its cons. Now, you could say, this isn't my words, but someone could say, this snake has got a bit of a hypomelanistic hue to it. So it looks a bit like it's got the hypo gene in it. It hasn't, but it looks like it has. So you could think that's a negative because all this beautiful oranges, yellows and lavenders are being kind of blushed out in some respects, or hued out a little bit. So you can turn that negative into a positive. So if I wanted, and I certainly will, I do want to make the banana cinnamon hypo clown. So I'm going to put this snake to my hypo clown to basically exploit this natural hue it's got, hopefully making a better looking hypo, a cleaner, sharp looking hypo. And because this has got a slight hypo hue, will really target that sort of hypo expression and try and pull it out of the snake, trying to really get it to its full potential and exploit it. Now, there isn't many blue or purple snakes in the world. There's, you know, you could argue the banana cinnamon without the clown is very lavendery and stuff. But if there was a particularly blue snake, let's just say someone brought a new gene out and it really did pull these blue tones. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit on that. So that, I'll just get it focused a bit better. So if there was that sort of bluey snake, then I would obviously put that gene with this particular animal to try and pull these blues and to get the contrast as good and as sharp as I can. So that's basically how I do my plans. So to recap, I'm gonna look at some other animals, but to recap, part of my planning is done by what I want to produce. For instance, I have just to the right of me, I have a orange dream clown, and I want to make a super orange dream clown. So one day I'll put another orange dream clown to her. Might have some more genes, may not, but I just want to make that snake. I think it will be a beautiful snake. But then when I get that snake and when I hatch that snake, I'm going to look at its pros and its cons and try and turn any cons into a pro, and also exploit the pros and try and pull the very, very best out of it. So now I'm going to move on to the hypo clown, just to show you another aspect of how I do my plans. So here's my hypo clown. Now, first and foremost, part of the plan for her is she probably will see the snake I've just featured, but let's just pretend she isn't gonna for the first season. So first and foremost, I'm gonna breed her to something with a much tighter pattern. So maybe my Superfly leopard clown, for instance, he's got a phenomenally tight pattern, because I want to sharpen I like how she looks, but I think she could look better. I want to exploit this. I want to exploit what the Superfly leopard clown, or let's just say a leopard clown, for instance, has with a really tight, sharp pattern. And I also want to work on bridging every single gap in her pattern, because in my opinion, that's a negative. If you're making really busy clowns, that's absolutely fine, but my aim for this particular female is to sharpen all this pattern up. So I'll go back to the drawing board, I'll look at the snakes that has a super tight pattern. So for instance, I don't own a straight killer clown, but I've hatched them. Now, particularly, most killer clowns have, most, not all, have gaps in their pattern. So I wouldn't put a killer clown to this female. That's not saying if I did, I wouldn't hatch snakes with tight patterns, because it all really lies on their grandparents and great grandparents and how tight their patterns was and how good they looked. You don't just buy one snake that just so happens to have a tight pattern, breed it to one that doesn't, hatch all ones with tight pattern. You've got to look at basically the family tree. Unfortunately, I've been breeding long enough that I can do that, but for those of you who are new to it, you won't have that luxury, not yet anyway. But because I do, I know particular animals will tighten the pattern just because of the gene pool, because of the genes they carry, but also I can obviously look at their family tree. So first and foremost, I'm going to work on tightening all this pattern up, and I'm going to minimize these almost teardrops. I don't necessarily want to make them just into blotches, but I want to tighten them up slightly. I want to get a little bit more uniformity to the snake. So I just think it'll make a better looking snake. Now, this little girl it took me so long to make her. She's perfect in every way to me. I absolutely adore her, but I know I can do better. So to answer the question, how do I work my plans out? Once again, part of it is to do with just simply what I want to make, but also looking at the pros and cons, or the slight negatives. It's only a slight negative that there's gap in the patterns, but it is in my book a negative. I know we can work on tightening this up and making her offspring even better. So that's basically how I do it, guys. I'll just feature one more snake just to kind of get the video to closer to 15 minutes, because that seems to be around the magic number, 13 to 15 minutes. And I'm going to talk now about something slightly different than just the pattern. Right, guys, sorry about the wait. That did seem to take me ages to find the snake. So this particular animal, this is a super orange dream yellow belly disco, also I believe. I'm very, very confident on that. So as this snake ages, it is getting a slight dusting. Now as this snake ages further, this unfortunately will become more apparent. So first and foremost, this is a male, so obviously you can see more than one female. But first and foremost, I'm going to work the genes in that will basically take this noise, this almost like pepper dusting away. But that's the obvious thing. Now, this snake's beginning to get a bit of a head pattern. I don't mean beginning in the respect that in a year it'll have a pronounced head pattern. What I mean is we're seeing the first steps of a nice head stamp. So Enchi will really tidy that up and make it look better. Also, Enchi will take out this peppering. So one gene I would like to add to this particular snake is an Enchi. So this male will probably see an Enchi female of some description. But then when you move down to the tail, you see this orange. This orange is more vibrant, it's more orange than this orange. This is like a beautiful light orange. This is an intense, deeper sort of Satsuma orange, like a real, true orange. So I will go back to the drawing board and I will look at the most orange snakes I can, because I want to exploit this colour and I want to get it to flip onto the other side of these black bands. These are almost like the border where it's not allowed to go past. Well, I want to turn that on its head and I want to get these oranges to come right up the sides. So I would do some research. I wouldn't just plan instantly, right, oh, I've got this snake, I want to bang it to this snake, I want to make more beautiful snakes. You can put this to a normal, you're still going to make nice snakes, but because you're going to make all orange dreams and better. But I'm going to look at what people are hatching who are basically around the world and who are further in front of me, like people like Aussie Boys. I'll go and look at Aussie Boys page and look at what is hatched that I certainly haven't, and what's super orange, because I want to look at the genes he's working with and work out how to unlock this and get it to jump over them black lines and get it to incorporate in the rest of the snake and tidy this up. So Enchi is going to be a part of that, and the rest we'll have to see. So guys, that's basically how I work my plans out. I hope that's to some help to as many of you as possible. Take time in working your plans out. Don't hatch a snake and instantly know what you're going to pair to, because a lot can happen in the year it takes you to grow up if it's a male, or the 2 years if it's a female. Try and have a slight relaxed attitude when you first hatched your snakes. Don't set the plans out there and then. You can, and there's no harm in that, but a lot will happen, and people like Justin Gabelka or Aussie Boys will hatch stuff that then change your plans. What I've learned doing it for several years is so much does happen in that year. You can have your yearly plan set out, and 6 months later you're sticking to 1 of 10 of them combinations or them pairings, because you've seen so many beautiful snakes and your direction's turned. I've got stuff I hatched, and that's part of a stepping stone to get to the next stepping stone. So I know that snake is going to meet another snake the second I hatch it. But I don't do it with all my snakes, because, like I say, so much can change. So I genuinely hope that's to some help. Sit, look at your snakes, interact with them, and also I'm sorry this is a bit wishy-washy, but if you've got a snake that's aggressive, a really good idea and a good way to get rid of some of that aggression is to breed, let's just say it's to breed him to a snake that's many generations captive bred, like most of them are. But what I mean by that is, if you've got a ball python that's mum came out of Africa, let's say banana a couple of years ago, 5 years ago, bananas were gold dust, and there was an awful lot of money, so they're still relatively wild, and as it happens they are pretty chilled snakes. But one of my snakes, I'm not going to name it, but one of my snakes is a bit fiery, so as in a little bit defensive. Now I breed him to the most placid females, and typically the offspring are super relaxed. That might not be a science, but I genuinely think it is. I've got a pied retic, and he is an arsehole. He can't stand me. And I've got a lavender albino sunfire tiger retic who's many generations captive bred, and she's part of my shop. She gets handled by everybody and anybody, and she never strikes anyone, because she's so many generations captive bred. she's so super laid back. But the pied is 2nd generation captive bred, and I still think he's got a lot of the wild in him. So we'll work that out with him in future pairings and projects. But yeah, so when you're doing your plans, guys, look at the particular animal, work out its strengths. So its strengths are obviously these beautiful oranges, but these are more beautiful. So try and think about how you can exploit that and get it to work up into the sides. Don't just think, oh, I'm going to whack this to a fire because it'll clean the pattern up and it'll look nicer. Of course it will, but that's what everyone's going to do. That's the easy thing. Everyone's going to think, fire. Fire's good. Whack it to a fire, sharpen up, make some disco infernos. But look at what you can do if you exploit the absolute best and try and work out. It's not easy to do this, but the way I've done it over the years has resulted in me having quite a nice collection, and I'm very proud of it. So I think it works. I really do. You got to look at each particular animal and work out their best assets and try and run with them and exploit them to bring the very best out. Right, guys, I genuinely hope that was some help to you. Hit the like button. If you didn't like the video, hit the dislike button twice, and I'll talk to you on the next video. Hope everyone's having an awesome season.